Hello, everybody. We're super psyched to be here. I'd like to just say we changed the title a little bit because we're so close to 250,000, and it just looks a lot better than the 240 that it originally said. We are doing a Danish PropTech SaaS application for property administrators, which is a little bit particular for Danish law. It's for co-op communities and partly owner communities. We are real jazz enthusiasts, so using Django Reinhardt's framework just makes so much sense.
Yep, absolutely. So just a very shortly why we are here. We went to DjangoCon 2022 in Porto, and we saw a lot of cool stuff that inspired some of the decisions we made technically at that point in time as well. We wanted to just tell our story about how we used the Django Admin to build most of our application. It's not a recipe for any application, but we had a lot of great joy of basically building on top of that. So we just want to give a bit back on how we got some cool stuff, basically. This is what you meet when you browse around the internet. It's mostly saying that don't use Django Admin for anything, like don't build on top of it. This is all basically written after we started our project. I think maybe luckily, because otherwise we might have been discouraged to use it as well. And we might not have been where we are today in terms of having a successful product built on top of it. Like even the documentation of it says don't. But we got a lot out of it.
Yeah, actually, I'll just mention, I think the most important word here is intended, because it does leave a door open, right? I just want to go through our timeline quickly, because it's sort of part of the important history. Our colleagues started this sort of property homepage application in 2012, so quite a long time ago. And they built it. They had, I think at the time where we entered, 12 customers. It's business to business. And there were 20 modules doing quite a lot of critical infrastructure for our customers. And a lot of it was, how back at that time there was a lot of printing, there was a lot of sending stuff around. Part of this Danish law is that the board has to sign when there's a new invoice, everyone has to sign it, and then it's sent back. So there's a lot of this paperwork and sort of documentation, and they digitized this. And so when we entered in 2017. It was at the time they needed a responsive website to begin with, and just a lot of things had to be changed. One thing also was that the main login was each property had like one login per board, which would mean, when the board left, one member would be leaving, they would still have the access, and it would be like 123 as the password. And I think you can hear sort of the GDPR monster screaming, So with that, we had to do, per user sort of personalized login. We knew we didn't have a lot of time. There was about 9 to 10 months to just sort of duplicate these modules, but also there were thoughts of doing like a whole messaging notification system. So there was definitely a pretty tight schedule. So I started working on it pretty quickly through first sort of iteration out, because I could see it wouldn't work with the messaging system. Johan joined doing Frontend in June. The first customer was migrated these 9-10 months later, and pretty much exactly 3 years later, we sold to EG, which is a major Scandinavian software company. At the time, we had 150,000 users, all Django Admin staff users. We were 2.5 developers, and now you can see the figures. And we just had a new developer, mostly so we could be here today. He could be taking care of business. So you see the sort of point is one developer doing a lot of stuff, and the whole journey has just been pretty much Johan and me doing the whole thing. And that will send me on. So this is, yeah, it's a little bit probably not detailed, but this is actually our Django Admin. And I think you'll recognize some things like searching, filtering, the top right. The menu is a little bit more like intricate. We have actually three. There's a profile menu, there's a community menu, and like the more general but nested menu. And then perhaps you can see the toggle list that contains more information and the dot menu. So we added a lot of stuff to it. And yeah, this is just part of it. So when I started building it, I thought, well, I have 15 to 20 modules I have to redo in 9 months. And 5 of those were like really customized stuff, and the rest was like very straight up CRUD with tiny changes and labels and stuff. And I just thought, if I have to make this by myself, I have to go really fast. I was thinking, you know, should I go spa and rest like pretty much everyone else? And I just knew I wouldn't be able to make it. So I thought, I'll make these 15 straight up CRUD applications doing Django Admin. I know I can do it fairly easily. The old application didn't have like even basic searching and filtering and stuff, so I knew I could add lots of value even from the get-go on top of the duplication of it. And also I knew, I mean, just building a messaging app and notification system, I could probably spend the whole time just doing that myself. And I had to do that also in these 10 months. And I thought, well, the main thing is, actually, I might just go here and show you. If you can tell, this is part of the permission diagram. We have the tutu, which is our admin users. We just changed the name into tutu. We have partners, which is our customers. We work closely with them, so we call them partners. We have properties, which each partner has many, like a portfolio of partners, properties, sorry, and there's a board and resident permissions. Lots of permission handling. And I knew that was something I could probably get the auth groups to do. Only thing is, if you're a board member in one community, maybe you're not in the other one, and everyone could have multiple communities. So I had to tweak it, but it turns out it was actually fairly easy. I spent probably like 1 day doing it, just sort of a proof of concept, and I thought, wow, if I can do this that easily, that really helps me in solving all the permission issues, and I can get going with all these like really easy CRUD applications. I thought, okay, go, and I could start building first the straight up stuff, and then see how much time I'd have to do the customized stuff afterwards. So we have a bunch of admin sites. As I mentioned before, they take care of some permission handling, but also like what widgets to display on the dashboard. Other things not that important. The main one being contrived auth groups, because everyone can have sort of like a mishmash of groups overlapping, and they all take care of the module admin permissions. Yeah, and then the thing is, so if you're a direct customer of ours, you have the portfolio of communities that you can access. And I'll show you the code later, which is super simple. But then also, if you're logged in just to one community, we want to just show the scope of the data just within this community. And you can see it in the domain. It's by subdomain. Yeah. And then we have a little bit of also some properties. Communities have some apps, some others they don't, depending on what their property administrator, maybe they have to pay extra for it or whatever it might be. And so that is handled specifically in each model element. And we have a little bit of row level permissions, but not very much. So we didn't really need to implement some other library for it or anything. And it actually turns out that this is the only place where we really have straight up copy-pasted Django admin source code, which is a little bit painful because everywhere else it seems like there's always some option of just like hooking yourself in, but this one place I really wish allowed for better sort of just extending. Yeah. I hope you can see this. It's just it's very like basic stuff. Ours is it's a lot longer, but I just wanted to highlight some things. You saw the list display toggle fields, so they open the expanded list. We have menu icons, just a few things, super easy stuff like the save button label. Sometimes it just had to say something different than save, so we can override that. Maybe we had to also fix the template. But it's very straightforward, like changing the title above, stuff like that. We have lots of that. Then I just wanted to pinpoint the query set, because almost every model inherits from the community-based model, so they have the community relation. And that makes it super easy, because as soon as there's a subdomain, we can catch it in the middleware, we can filter and get query sets, which means we make sure that there's just the subset that should be there. Really easy, and also there's a little bit of like, so maybe one partner employee will only have a subset of the subset, and we can handle it, and that will take care of all the model admins that inherit from it. So that it just shows you a few lines that take care of so much business for us. When, I guess about a year ago, we decided to do an upgrade of our front end, and we didn't actually really have time to do any sort of more advanced activity, but I thought we'll give it a shot anyway, because I really wanted to have that more of like active feel. I hadn't forgot about doing the spa feel, and I think mostly we really missed it for the change lists. So I'll just go ahead and show you what it looks like. See, so this infinite scrolling, this, and it's actually pretty fast. There's about 800,000 rows, I think. There's active searching, and you'll see also active filtering in a second. And the thing is, as I was just sort of poking around to see, I knew I didn't have the time to build this from scratch myself, and I was thinking, man, there must be lots of stuff I can reuse. And it turns out, so we did an active change list view that we can actually turn on just sort of by a feature flag in the top of the admin model. And this is pretty much it. And the thing is, I was looking at it yesterday and I realized none of these lines of code was actually something I created. It's all taken from someplace in Django Admin. And when you look at it, it's very simple. I think you will see also, getting the change list instance, building the form set, and then the start of the show. The big attraction is the change list with query sets, because it actually does all these things, and now it turns out it does the same thing in many places. And first of all, it calls what you just saw before on each model admin. It calls the get query set directly on the model admin. Afterwards, it handles this. Yeah, so if we have permissions in that, it will take care of that. It'll go on, it'll do filtering, searching, and ordering, depending on, of course, the request parameters. So much stuff goes on. It's for free. It was already there. There's pagination handle. There's a little bit of extra details in there that I left out to make it fit into one screen. And instead of going to a template, doing some template tags, going into another function and stuff, we're just doing calling this result list function directly and putting it out in our own template. And then you can see you can the change list HTMX element, and below is the search element, and then there's also the infinite scrolling element, and they all just call the same function, doing the same thing. There's so much reuse in this, and I think it took me to get the basics of it, a few hours going, and I was like, wow, how long would it have taken me if I had to do all these elements sort of over again, build them from scratch. And right after, I was actually looking into getting some kind of internal tool for searching easier, because we have so many different modules, lots and lots of data, and often for support issues, for instance, someone has to find a specific invoice for a specific community, and there's a little bit of like clicking and lots of sort of performance going on because we have to load everything in the beginning. And I was thinking, what can we do? And I saw someone doing like a modal that you could access from anywhere. And sort of just input a little bit of data and then have active searching right there. And so I think, yeah, here it actually is. So this is a test partner calling a community, a property, and this is the name. And so it just comes straight up. We can tap to it. We can go to it directly instead of going to the menu, calling the Chainlist, searching for it, clicking, and then we're there. And the thing is, let me just actually pause that. Sorry. The thing is that, I'm going many places. I can just tell you, hold on just 1 second. Here we are. Yeah, you see the admins? So all it really takes is adding the admins that we want to be able to search. And they pop up in the auto field, autocomplete field, and because we have this, which you saw before, the active change list, when we can actually get the model admin class, and we can instantiate it, we can call it directly. Only thing is, I don't know if you noticed, but usually we have like lots of list display fields. It could be 6 or 8. And we just wanted, a simpler version to fit in the modal. So I had to do a little bit of monkey patching to just get like the basic list display fields, and then return the active changes. So what came from before, from the individual model admins, could just be used in this instance. It's like so much value, and it turned out that in the beginning we used it just internally, but of course our customers really enjoyed this also. It's just a little bit of tweaking. So I hope this leaves you with a little bit of an impression of, wow, there's all this stuff that can be reused, and it's actually right there. Yeah, let's just see show of hands of who's using the Django admin like almost every day. How many has been looking into contrive admin options pi within the last week? Yeah, see, and that's interesting to me because that's like that's my home. I live there. There's so much good stuff. There's so much that can be reused. And I was going to say that this is all very easy, but I heard, I think it was Mia talking about, she was sort of looking for some of the same solutions, and she found it hard. And we've been doing it for so long that it's a little bit hard to say what it was actually like in the beginning. But I would say the time that you spent sort of getting to these places within the core admin source code is really, it returns like tenfold.
Right, so obviously we had to do a bit of front-end tweaking as well because we could. We did a lot of back-end stuff, obviously. You saw a lot of the new design as well. This is what you get out of the box, mostly. This is actually a fairly modern version of the admin, but we had to do more, so let's go a little fancy. This is where we started. This is the first version. We kind of just wanted to use most of the default sections. We kept most of the sidebars. The dashboard is obviously something we stick together as well, but otherwise the menus and a lot of stuff in terms of rendering the lists and inlines and all this stuff is fairly unmodified, I'd say. We reused that a lot in that way, and got very far with that actually, without redoing a lot. So mostly we kept most of the HTML structure, which allowed us to reuse a lot of default admin functionality in terms of default scripts. Also admin extensions just kept working without too much modification, basically. But we did a lot of restyling, obviously, which is most of the work, actually. But we made a version 2 as well, And for that part, we kind of wanted to scale down whatever didn't work. So we tried to keep what worked, keep what sparked joy. We wanted to reduce a bit of toolchain. We wanted to modernize a bit, but still leaning into Django, Django Admin, relying on server templating, all this stuff that you kind of lean on Django to do a lot of the hard work that we already are doing. So this is what it looks like today. We did some, besides the visual stuff, we did some of this stuff to do some accessibility tweaks. We wanted to make it a bit easier to do some of this kind of stuff in a more modern way. So we redid a lot of actual templates, still keeping the structure of the templates in the base templates of the admin, but otherwise tweaking the HTML to make sure that we got some of the new features we wanted out of it. We used a lot of web components. I'm going to show a bit of that as well. But otherwise, we try to scale down, use modern front-end tools like ECMAScript, the module loading of the JavaScript. We used a lot of HTMX, as you've seen, which is very cool to make it feel a lot more, a bit more interactive. We used slippers, which I love very much. We saw the storybook Django from Thibaut, which is somewhere here probably. We saw some interaction with that, doing some web components and doing some componentized Django to make sure that it's more organized when you build this stuff out. But otherwise, of all of the modern stuff, it's just forms, fields, a bit of layout supported by crispy forms, and some good stuff in that way. This is just to, I saw some Alpine.js and some HTMX. This is just web components, like native browser stuff. We use some slippers in here, we use some, I'll show you as well, but otherwise it's fairly just native web components. I just want to go by it because I saw the other stuff. This is just works in the browser, it doesn't do anything else, it doesn't need to be compiled. There's some, if you want, you can do some local styling as well, which keeps it simple at start. You can extend that out if you want. But otherwise, I know this might look a bit intimidating if you are not used to it, but it's fairly simple stuff. This is the declarative shadow DOM version. You've got a template inside and the style as well, but you can also just use the normal snack bar that we have here, and without all the inner fittings. And you can, with a bit of scripting, you can hook into that and use the native browser also binding. So when the classic problem of changing the DOM or injecting it with HTMX, for example, you have to rebind events if you've got a like event listeners of any sort. This stuff makes it all just kind of very easy to just use the browser's native functionality of it, and it kind of just works. It can be a bit verbose, but otherwise the idea of it is fairly simple. You can connect, you can add event listeners as soon as it's injected into the DOM with a connected callback. You can observe some attributes if you want to react to anything being modified outside from any place, scripting or otherwise, and you just kind of define it to be basically observed. So whenever it's injected into DOM, somewhat it's automatically loaded. And so this is how we use most of this. We make a slippers template of it and kind of use it this way in our templates. Fairly simple stuff. Some other admin enhancements?
I think we'll probably do them really quickly.
Yes.
Let's just see. We have active Chainlist fields with the ACMX. Also super simple, really. It's a generic solution. We can use it pretty much everywhere, I think, except for like file uploads. Another example, actually, I should just mention, I think that one of the really completely shitty UX solutions in the admin is inlines, and we've had so many customers wanting to delete something, and they hit the checkbox and then they hit delete on the whole object, and so everything is deleted. And yeah, so one thing we really wanted to do also was do inlines, but differently with HTMX. And so this is a tab and it's to me super simple solution, just reusing admin stuff. You can see you can create it, we can update it, we can delete it over the HTMX, and it's just an inline, and it's fairly easy to reuse with the mixins and stuff. So there was a lot of things. And back to what was intended. Well, sometimes things can be used in a different way than they were intended. Personally, I'd like to visit someone that had bubble wrap as a wallpaper, and you can go poke it. I hope that you get an impression of this sort of taking things apart and reusing them, and starting maybe looking a bit deeper. I think one of the things with the admin is that there's a lot of documentation, but as soon as you have to customize, you have to actually look at the source code. And so you do need to just go, but then it's fairly easy to understand, and there's so much to also learn from it.
Basically, what we want to say here is you can go very fast with the admin tools. There's a lot to get into. There's a lot of code to read if you want to use it, because you want to get fairly intimate with it. But otherwise, there's a lot of good stuff.
Just to end, I think from a business perspective, what we ended up being able to do with the admin simply wouldn't have happened. At that time, I had only done a little bit of Django REST and so forth, but I think still, I think Carlton also mentioned it yesterday, you kind of need 2 teams, and if nothing else, you need to sort of break your brain into 2 teams. And for me, we got everything. We got the Chainlist, we got the add and update possibilities kind of for free, and it really sort of made it all happen in the short time that it had.